So these are all the shoes I currently have in my running shoe rotation, and I'm going to go through every single one for each of their purposes. So that goes from an easy recovery run all the way down to race day. I'm going to talk about which shoes I wear the most, and then also talk about which shoes I'd recommend the most. Some shoes I've had for years and keep on getting, whether that's an upgrade or the same version over and over again because of how much I love the shoe, and other shoes I've only just got or had for a very short period of time. I'm going to be completely transparent. There's no shoes in this video that I'm being paid to say anything about. There's no reason I've made this video other than to just show what my running shoe rotation is. So everything I say about each of these shoes that I wear is my own personal opinion and nothing else. And there is some shoes that aren't here which I wear very occasionally. I've tried to make this video with the shoes that I wear consistently. Also with sessions, I can wear more than one shoe in one session. So it is actually surprising how quickly I'd get through all of these shoes here, which I have to guess is probably around 30 pairs of shoes. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. I'm just gonna get these off the table. Shouldn't have done this. I really shouldn't have done that actually, because now I'm gonna have to fish through them. I should have stopped the video and prepared them all. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. So that took longer than I'd care to admit. Every shoe in this video is a shoe that I really like and would suggest that other people use as well. Maybe with one caveat, which I will get into and explain why. But other than that, every single shoe I think is an unbelievable shoe. So starting at the slower end, I'm gonna cover easy run shoes first. And I'm talking like pure, easy max cushion shoes. And the first one is the Puma Mag Max. As you can see, it is massive. And the reason I love it is because of how big it is, how much it protects your legs. In fact, I'd probably say it's almost a little too big. So there's sometimes I put this on and I almost have to get used to how big it is. And where I live, there's a lot of hills and this sometimes doesn't feel great running up them, but running down them and on the flat, it just really protects the legs, and the upper's really comfy as well. It's just a shoe that I put on when I want to reduce impact as much as possible. Another shoe in that category, which I've been loving at the minute, is the Skechers Aero Burst. Skechers have really improved in recent months. I've got quite a few of their shoes at the minute, which I'm trying and training in. And this is just their max cushion shoe. To be honest, this is the shoe I've been wearing the most in terms of my recovery days at the minute, or just easy runs. I just think it's really smooth, really comfy, flows really well, reduces impact a lot, and it looks kind of crazy, I think, with the waves and the colors. So it's just a really nice shoe to have on your foot. Not quite as big as the Puma, but it's definitely just as comfortable, and it just flows really well, and I've been really enjoying it. Next is a shoe that has kind of maybe been worn less recently because of the previous two shoes I've mentioned, and that is the Hoka Bondi 9. Similar story to the other two shoes. It's just really nice, flows really well, and it has a lot of cushion. This is probably, along with the Skechers, a bit more of a stable ride compared to the Puma, which is just so big it feels a bit crazy at times, which isn't a bad thing if you want to minimize impact as much as possible. But this is a bit more of a no-nonsense, kind of straightforward max cushion trainer. So I would probably recommend this for most people if they just want something that's really solid and isn't super crazy. It is still big and has a lot of cushion, but it's just a really solid option, which I do like to wear, albeit not as much recently. And next are two kind of shoes that I try to wear at least once a day, and that is because I think with all these incredible shoes with super foams and super high cushion, my mechanics have started to get a bit lazy because I've been wearing shoes that are just incredible underfoot. And I'm not saying that these next two shoes aren't, they're just not as super soft and they're a bit more dialed and a bit more straightforward, which means I have to focus a bit more on my mechanics and not just run along with a massive bouncy shoe under my foot. So the first one is the Saucony Triumph 23. Again, it is still a massive shoe. It's just that the ride is a bit less aggressive and doesn't push you along the road as much as the other shoes I've mentioned so far. And for me, that is really important because there's only so much you can kind of just want to reduce impact as much as possible. There is still quite a lot of mechanical training you can get out of your easy runs. So having a shoe like this just helps you focus a bit more on running with the correct mechanics. And also sometimes it does get a bit, not annoying, but having a massive max cushion shoe on all the time does start to feel a bit lethargic at times. So this is one of the options I use where I really want to sort of dial in. And at the minute, this is the shoe I've been wearing on my easy long runs, just because I bash out 25K in one go. I want to have time to focus on my mechanics while still being protected, and this is a really good shoe for that. Almost identical to that is the Saucony Hurricane 23. It's probably the shoe that I've been wearing most frequently on my warm-ups and double days. I try to get a run in this every day at the minute. It is a bit more of a stability option, which means it's slightly firmer than the other shoes I've mentioned. I normally hate stability shoes. This is the only one that I have actually ever worn, which I enjoy running in, other than maybe the Puma Forever Run Nitro. But this is definitely the best stability shoe I've worn. It just feels really nice. And like I mentioned with the Saucony Triumph, it's not as massive and, you know, just super as the other recovery shoes I've shared so far. So again, it just allows you to focus a bit more on those mechanics. And I think also the bit of the firmer ride helps more with warm-ups because it just gets your legs feeling a bit more poppy. That being said, it's still not a firm shoe. Next up is a category that's a bit smaller, and this is kind of where I really want to recover. These are shoes that I'd wear when I feel really battered, which hasn't happened yet in my training block so far. So I've not worn these for a few weeks, but I will start definitely wearing them soon. And these are also shoes that I can merge into the next category of training shoes, but these are kind of super daily trainers, I guess. And the two I wear at the minute is the Diadora Atomo Star. This is made in Italy, has a full Pebax foam, or maybe a TPU foam. It's a super foam anyway. It's just a lot of really soft and cushioned foam. Feels really nice. You basically just bounce along the road, and because it doesn't have a plate in, it kind of doesn't also push you. So as I mentioned before about focusing on mechanics, it still allows you to do that a bit, even though it definitely does help a lot in terms of cushion and energy return. And the Diadora team actually, it's just an incredible brand. It has a massive history, but in terms of like, I guess, global competitors now, it's a smaller brand, but a lot of their shoes are phenomenal, and this is one I wear a lot. There is actually a shoe what's missed off in this video because it is technically my emergency shoe that I keep in my car. If I forgot a shoe, I always want to keep one in my car just in case. And that is the Diadora Atomo V7000, I think it is. It kind of fits into the same category of the previous two shoes I mentioned, which is, I guess, daily or easy run trainers that allow you to focus on your mechanics a bit more because they're not super energetic. But this is definitely a shoe I wear when I need to recover the most. And next up on this list is a shoe that I could definitely train in as well, and I do train in, so this is a good transition into training shoes, and that is the Mizuno Neo Vista 2. Mizuno makes some crazy shoes. I'm not a big fan of their race day shoes, what have obviously quite a weird midsole geometry, but whatever they've done in this shoe, and also the Neo Zen, it just works really well. It flows really well. It's not super aggressive, so I can wear it on easy runs, and this is kind of my last resort. I'd almost say that I would choose not to run if I was feeling as bad as I need to wear this on an easy run, but it is a good option to have where you just want to tick the volume off without having any issues with your legs at all, and just giving you as much help as possible without obviously going into a race day shoe, which never really feel nice to do easy runs in. So this is a shoe that feels really nice at easy speeds, and also you can pick up the paces for training. Next is training shoes, and this is where I've been trying to train in, I guess you could call it low efficiency shoes, which aren't carbon plates or like really super shoes. And that is because I feel like my mechanics have got a bit too lazy because I've been doing years and years of volume in really good super shoes, and I do think I've become more inefficient with certain mechanics, which shows, especially when I was racing on the track this season. I think it's better to train certain mechanics, what will then help on race day. And that's mostly like leg tension and just efficiency with the foot and the calf and the ankle. So one of the shoes, which is the caveat I mentioned, is the New Balance 880 V. I don't even know what version this is. I really don't like this shoe to run in terms of like easy runs. It feels like just you're running with a plank of wood on your foot. I got this when I was actually with New Balance last year as an athlete, and I didn't wear it a single time to run in or train in. And then kind of I progressed into this new idea of training in more honest shoes or worst shoes, what still kind of don't cause issues. Because obviously you could say you need to train in the worst shoe possible and then you'll just get injured. So it's kind of key to find shoes to train in that keep you protected or healthy in whatever way that is. It could be how your mechanics are, it could be the cushion, but without pushing you forward. And this shoe does that incredibly well. As much as I don't like running in it, and when I pick it to train in, I really don't like it. It's just a shoe that I've been wearing to get honest sessions in because I don't leave the session injured. Other than that, I really don't like it. It's more of, I choose it because it's a shoe I don't like. And yeah, so I don't recommend it, but if you do want to kind of train how I train, I still wouldn't recommend it, but it is a good option if you really wanted to get some honest training in and still be protected somewhat and hopefully don't increase the risk of injury too much. And the reason I started training like this in this shoe was because someone who is very respected in the running industry told me to do so. And the next shoe that I'm about to mention is the shoe that he heavily influenced in creating, and it's currently my favorite training shoe in terms of the honest training that I've been doing recently with my thresholds, even speed work and hill work. I'm wearing this shoe the most, I would say, out of any other shoe to train in because of how smooth it feels. And that is the On Cloud Boom Zone. So this has a little kind of, I guess, wedge. So it's not quite a plate, it's a bit of a speed board in the middle to keep some rigidity, but it definitely doesn't feel like it pushes you forward. If I had to design the perfect training shoe to give you the protection, but also be smooth and that doesn't help you too much in training, I would say it's this shoe. I would say it's almost perfect for training. But the one issue being the upper is a bit restrictive at times and gets a little bit warm. And if I had to say which shoe I've been wearing the most for training in the recent months, it would be an easy answer, and it's this shoe. The next one in the very similar category is the Kiprun. The name's going to be on the screen because it escapes me. Kiprun's names are ridiculous at times, and this is another one that's just a stupidly long name. But again, in terms of what I talked about in the On shoe and the New Balance shoe, it is just a really good, honest training day shoe that feels smooth and not too super whilst still protecting you. I have found that this shoe works my calves a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's because the midsole geometry is a little bit different, but it is still one of my favorite shoes to train in. It kind of just ticks all the boxes in terms of what you need in a training shoe. Again, like all the other shoes I've mentioned recently, it's not as glamorous and it certainly doesn't feel like you're getting a push that you'd be used to if you were wearing super shoes or even some super training shoes, but still a really good option. Next is a new shoe, and that is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. It is definitely an upgrade from the Speed 4, and I just think it flows really well. It's a lot more comfortable underfoot. It handles easy paces really well and can go up to, you know, threshold pace, tempo pace. And I've also been doing a bit of sprint work in this as well. It does have a plate in, so obviously you get a bit more of a push, but it definitely doesn't give you the same push that carbon plates do. And that's why I choose to train in it as well, because it doesn't give you the same mechanical advantage as super shoe would. But in terms of the other shoes I mentioned, it's probably the most super one I've discussed so far. Next is a Skechers Aero Tempo. As I mentioned, Skechers have really improved recently in the running game, and this is just another shoe. It is a little bit on the bigger side than the other shoes I mentioned, so this is a shoe I'd kind of wear for longer sessions or long runs rather than maybe track work or interval sessions. And it's just really protective. I took this out for a long run recently, it felt great. I've done some threshold sessions in it, it felt great. It has some stiffness in there, but it isn't too propulsive, so it's just great to take on a long run especially. I just enjoy training in it, so it's in my rotation. And finally, this is probably the nicest feeling training shoe I wear at the minute, and probably ever. It's the Asics Mega Blast. It feels crazy. It's kind of an upgraded Super Blast. It's just so smooth. It feels good at everything. I've been wearing it for morning thresholds and tempos. I've kind of been restricting how much I wear it because of how good it does feel. And as I've mentioned, I don't want to wear shoes that feel amazing all the time at the minute. But I've still been taking this out for some sort of longer tempos or threshold days. It just feels really good. If you do want a shoe, what is the best you can get without going into carbon racing shoes? In fact, it is better than some carbon racing shoes, because I'd say this is the best training shoe on the market in terms of what you can get for a training shoe. Obviously added durability compared to a race day option as well. Yeah, I have no complaints. In fact, I'd say that these two shoes are perfect training shoes for different reasons, but these are my two favorites. Next on to super shoes that I would race in potentially, and also do some intervals in when I start training in super shoes again. First is the Hoka Rocket X2. It's just a really smooth super shoe. It feels great, and I would say it's actually criminally underrated. People seem to wear the Hoka Cielo more. The Rocket X2 is as competitive as almost any other super shoe on the market. I would actually say I prefer it to quite a lot of some of the top tier super shoes people rave about on social media the most. In terms of like racing in this, I'd say it's closest to the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 and the Vaporfly. Both incredible shoes which are very competitive. Rory Leonard has the 10K British record in this at the minute, so it's definitely got the credibility of elite athletes as well. It's just a really, really smooth and nice super shoe to run in, and it's more stable than most of the super shoes on the market as well. The next one, as I mentioned, the Vaporfly. I do prefer the Vaporfly 2 to the Vaporfly 3, so I've been wearing this shoe actually for a few years. I think I actually ran my 5K road PB in this, or the first time I broke 14 minutes for the 5K was in this shoe. I think I ran 13:48, and since then I've just been training in it a lot. It's probably actually the shoe that I've got the most miles in at the minute. It still actually looks pretty good. You know what you're getting from a Vaporfly. And I guess when I was in my last training block, I was wearing it for sort of double thresholds in the evening and also faster sessions when I wasn't wearing spikes. Unfortunately, the durability is pretty much gone in it, so it's very rare that I wear it. I'll actually probably start wearing it for grass sessions when I'm not wearing spikes, which again is a very niche training option, but I'm sure it'll still have some use because I do want to keep this shoe. Now onto my top 4 super shoes. I'm not going to go into any particular order because I think they've all got certain different use cases in terms of what race you want to do and what you like. So the first one I will mention is probably the one people wear the least and know about the least, and that is the Diadora Gara Carbon 2. It's pretty much identical to the Diadora Gara Carbon 1. It is a phenomenal super shoe. The foam, I would still say this might be my favorite super foam ever. It's just the way it feels and the bounce and how smooth it is, but also how fast it is. It's just an incredible super shoe to try if you haven't. I don't really have a complaint other than the fact that the heel counter is a little bit big for my liking, which adds quite a lot of weight. It's still a lot lighter than quite a lot of super shoes, but it could just be a bit lighter. Diadora just absolutely blew out of the park with this shoe. I raced the British 5K Championships in it last year where I came third in the Diadora Gara Carbon 1, which is here. And as you can probably tell, like I said, it's pretty much the exact same shoe. An unbelievable shoe. If you do want to try maybe a brand what isn't as commonly known or people don't wear as much, get this because it is incredible. Next is a shoe that I've worn in races where I've won. I also wore this shoe at the European 10K Championships. That is a Saucony Endorphin Elite V2. And I know I just mentioned that the Diadora Gara Carbon 2 has the best foam I've ever worn. This foam actually might be better. It is the softest foam I've ever tried in the super shoe, but it also kind of stiffens up and gets firmer when you pick up the paces. It's just a wild shoe. It's obviously not for everyone because of how wild it is, but in terms of like enjoyable sessions and races, and in terms of also how comfortable it is, nothing beats this. It's incredibly light for how massive it is. And if I was to race an ultra, which I'm not doing anytime soon, this would be 100% the shoe I'd pick. But also I would say is definitely in the top tier, like the top tier in terms of super shoes. Next is a shoe that I have my 10K personal best in, and technically my half marathon personal best, even though I was only pacemaking, so it doesn't count, and that is the Nike Alphafly 3. I wasn't a big fan of the Nike Alphafly 1 or the Nike Alphafly 2, but this is just incredible. It's so lightweight for how much shoe you get, and the bounce just feels insane. I mean, it has the half marathon men's world record, it has the men's marathon world record, and it has the women's marathon world record. So it's obviously very competitive. That is predominantly down to the athletes that wear it as well, because Nike kind of have some of the best athletes in the world. It's either Nike or Adidas athletes. It's just an unbelievable shoe. In terms of technology, other than the shoe I'm about to mention, it's probably the most over-designed shoe. It's just got so much technology in compared to other super shoes. I don't really know how else to word it. And like there's some design features like this extended sort of bit of the heel. There's some bits what don't feel like they need to be in the shoe, which is maybe one of my only critiques because it could be even lighter, but it is incredible. And I feel like you know what you're getting from Nike. The Zoom X is an incredible foam. And at the minute compared to the Nike Vaporfly, for me, this is by far my favorite option, even for like a 5K race, 10K race, half marathon, marathon. I'm lucky enough to have a few pairs of this shoe now. So I also did a lot of training in it, and I will start to do a lot of training in it again when I start training in carbon shoes, because it's just incredible. And finally, the shoe that I've had probably my best ever road race in, which was the Manchester 10K. It wasn't a PB, I think predominantly because of the course, but I did come fifth in a field where I was actually in awe of the people around me. I actually couldn't believe I was racing those people. I'm not saying that was down to the shoe. I trained really hard for it. But that is the Puma Fast R 3. And as I mentioned about the Alphafly, the technology in this shoe is insane. The design of this shoe is also insane. It's just an insane shoe all around. It's shockingly light for how big the shoe is. Like, it doesn't feel like this shoe should weigh this much with how much shoe you get, because I would actually put this into the hyper shoe category, which is kind of this new era of shoe where you're talking like the Asics Metaspeed Ray and the Adidas Evo 2 and 1, where the shoe is like ridiculously light. But I think with both of those shoes, you kind of sacrifice a bit of performance or a bit of technology to get it that light, which is obviously more fine-tuned to elites anyway. This shoe feels like you get all the weight benefits whilst still not missing anything in terms of technology and cushion. Yeah, it's hard to fault it. It's insane. I've never taken it further than the 10K, so I don't know how it would compare in the half marathon and the marathon. I think this is going to be my shoe of choice for the Valencia half marathon in October. I'm racing a 10K in the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, and I'll probably, if I get a new pair of Alphaflys, I'll probably also wear that for a race. And maybe the Diadora Gara Carbon. And I'm saying that because it is hard to choose. I think when you get to this top tier, it's really hard to pick and choose which shoe is the best. If I had a gun to my head and someone said you have to choose one shoe to wear for race day across any distance, I'd pick this. And also, I think a lot of influencers and athletes have done testing where they've kind of shared the results, and this always comes out as pretty much more efficient, at least by a few percent compared to other shoes. And I can't really describe it until you try it, because it actually doesn't even feel any better than the other shoes I mentioned. In fact, I would say that the Alphafly, the Diadora Gara Carbon 2, and the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 all feel better underfoot and also feel faster underfoot than this. But then when I finish a rep or a race, I'm faster in this. So it just makes you want to run fast, it makes you run fast, and it's incredible across the board. It's honestly an unbelievable shoe. Quite a big thing I need to get out of the way, I guess, to address the elephant in the room. There's only one Asics shoe. Asics is obviously very popular across the board in terms of the Superblast, the Nova Blast, and their race day shoes. I just haven't bought many Asics, haven't got sent many Asics, so that's why there's not many Asics in there. And then I don't think there's any Adidas shoes in there. And that's because the mileage shoe at the minute is the Supernova Rise. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I've never tried the Adidas Adios Pro 4. I think that would probably definitely fit into the kind of the top tier super shoes I mentioned. So there's just too many shoes for me to wear, and Adidas and Asics have kind of not been on my radar in terms of shoes that I would want to get. And then the one shoe that I wish I still had, what has run out of durability completely, is the Nike Vomero 17. The Vomero 17 for me was almost this unicorn shoe, which would mostly be designed for easy runs and sort of steady runs, but you could take up to tempos and everything else. And when I talk about sort of training shoes, what are honest but can still pick up the pace, that would probably be the shoe that I'd choose over this. In terms of like just daily trainers, what do that job, because it was, for me, a really good shoe across the board. And also, probably the most common comment I'll get if I don't answer this is, where was the Adidas Evo SL? I've tried it in a size that is a little bit too small for me, but honestly, I didn't really get blown away. And when I've got this shoe, which I love training in, I've got this shoe, which I love training in, I've got this shoe, which I love training in, I've got this shoe that I tolerate training in, and a few other training shoes, there's not really need for me to get the Adidas Evo SL. So I'd happily try it if I got sent it, but I'm not going to spend my money on a shoe that I basically got a replacement for 5 times, 6 times over, and I'm currently really loving them. So obviously the hype around that shoe is undeniable. People love it. I can't really deny that it's a great shoe as well. That is hopefully a very comprehensive guide of all the running shoes I'm currently wearing. Comment down below your current running shoe rotation, and also any other video ideas that you'd like to see on this channel moving forward. I've also got a training video and a testing video which is coming out very soon as well.